Have you ever noticed this? The moment a man says, "I'm focusing on myself. I don't want to chase relationships right now." Suddenly, he's labeled selfish, bitter, immature. But here's the strange part. Nobody reacts this strongly when someone chooses anything else in life. So the real question is, why does this choice trigger people so much? This isn't about defending MGTOW. It's not about attacking anyone. This is about understanding a psychological pattern. Why certain choices get strong emotional reactions from others. In this video, we're going to break down why men who choose MGTOW get shamed, the psychology behind social pressure, and what this reaction reveals about modern society. Stay till the end, because the final insight might completely change how you see judgment, control, and independence. Section 1. Breaking the expected path. Every society has a script. An expected path? Study, work, relationship, marriage. Most people follow it without questioning. 1. The problem with deviation. When someone steps off that path, it creates discomfort because it challenges what others believe is normal. 2. The psychological reaction. People think, why isn't he following the same path? Is something wrong? And instead of exploring the idea, they react emotionally. 3. Labeling as a defense mechanism. To reduce discomfort, people use labels. He's bitter. He's afraid, because labeling is easier than understanding. Story, the reaction. Rohit tells his friends, "I'm not interested in relationships right now." At first, they laugh. Then they question him. Then they judge him, not because they understand his decision, but because it feels unfamiliar. Because anything unfamiliar feels threatening. Section 2, the control factor. Now let's go deeper. 1. Society runs on participation. Systems work when people participate. Work, social life, relationships. When someone steps out, it disrupts expectations. 2. Loss of predictability. If men stop following expected roles, behavior becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability creates discomfort. 3. Control through pressure. One way society maintains order is through social pressure. Approval, disapproval, praise, shame. Shaming becomes a tool to push people back into the norm. Story, the pressure. Rohit starts hearing things like, "You'll regret it. You're missing out." This isn't normal. Not because people analyzed his choice, but because they want him to conform. Mini cliffhanger, because when someone can't be influenced easily, pressure increases. Section 3, the mirror effect. This is where it gets uncomfortable. 1. It reflects other people's choices. When someone chooses a different path, it makes others question their own. Did I choose right? Do I even have a choice? 2. Cognitive dissonance. This creates internal conflict. If his path works, what does that say about mine? And instead of facing that discomfort, people reject the idea. 3. Attack instead of reflection. It's easier to say, "He's wrong," than to ask, "What if he has a point?" Story, the real trigger. Rohit's decision isn't the problem. The problem is what it makes others feel. Mini suspense build. Because sometimes the reaction says more about them than you. Section 4, the independence threat. Let's go even deeper. 1. Independence reduces influence. When someone is independent, they need less approval, less validation, less external control, and that changes how they interact with the world. 2. Harder to influence. If a man doesn't seek validation, he's harder to control, and that can make people uncomfortable. 3. The silent power shift. He's no longer chasing, seeking, over-investing. He's choosing, and that shift changes dynamics. Story, the new energy. Rohit stops seeking approval. He focuses on himself, and suddenly, people react even more. Mini suspense hook, because when someone stops needing validation, they become different. If this is making you think differently, hit like, because most people never look at this topic this deeply, and comment below. Do you think MGTOW is misunderstood or correctly judged? Section 5, the truth no one admits. Here it is. The uncomfortable truth. It's not just about MGTOW. It's about control, expectations, and perception. 1. People fear what they don't understand. Anything outside the norm gets questioned. 2. Shaming maintains the system. Shaming isn't always about truth. Sometimes it's about control. 3. Independence disrupts patterns. When someone becomes fully independent, they stop playing by the same rules, and that creates tension. But this is just the surface, because in part 2, we're going deeper into What happens when more men choose this path? Why shaming can actually backfire, and the long-term impact of this shift, because once a mindset spreads, it doesn't stay small. Part 2. Why shaming backfires and makes it stronger. Section 6, the backfire effect. Here's the part most people don't expect. Shaming doesn't always stop behavior. Sometimes, it strengthens it. 1. Resistance creates identity. When someone is constantly criticized, they don't always back down. They double down, because now it's not just a choice. It becomes part of who they are. 2. The us versus them effect. Shaming creates separation. They don't understand me. They're against this mindset, which leads to stronger internal belief. 3. Emotional detachment increases. Instead of feeling influenced, they become more distant, more independent, more certain. Story, the turning point. Rohit was unsure at first, but after constant criticism, something changed. He stopped explaining himself. He stopped seeking approval, and that made him more solid in his decision. Mini suspense hook, because when someone stops needing validation, external pressure loses power. Section 7, curiosity starts spreading. Now here's where it gets interesting. 1. People start asking questions. When something is constantly attacked, others begin to wonder, what's really going on here? 2. The forbidden idea effect. The more something is criticized, the more curious people become. They start searching, observing, thinking independently. 3. Silent growth. Even if it's not visible, interest grows quietly. Story, the observer. Someone watching Rohit notices the reactions, not the choice, the reactions, and that sparks curiosity. They start exploring the idea themselves. Mini cliffhanger, because sometimes opposition becomes promotion. Section 8, the power shift no one notices. Now let's go deeper. 1. From approval, self-validation. When a man stops seeking approval, he validates himself, and that changes everything. 2. From reactive, unaffected. Instead of reacting emotionally, he becomes calm, unbothered, stable. 3. From controllable, independent. If someone doesn't need approval, they can't be easily controlled. Story, the new energy. Rohit isn't arguing anymore. He's not defending himself. He's just living his life, and that calm energy stands out. Mini suspense build, because silence often speaks louder than arguments. Section 9, the long-term impact. This is where everything leads. 1. Mindset spread, not just ideas. People don't just adopt concepts. They adopt ways of thinking. And once a mindset spreads, it's hard to reverse. 2. Social norms slowly shift. At first, it's unusual. Then it's accepted. Then it becomes normal. 3. The system adapts. When enough people change behavior, the system adjusts, not because it wants to, but because it has to. Story, the bigger picture. Rohit isn't alone anymore. More men are thinking the same way, quietly, independently, and that collective shift changes the environment. Mini suspense hook, because when enough people think differently, reality itself starts to change. Let's simplify everything. Shaming isn't always about truth. It's about influence. And when influence stops working, people push harder. But sometimes, pushing harder creates resistance, and resistance creates strength. So now ask yourself, are your choices truly yours, or shaped by pressure? Do you follow the path, or question it? Are you seeking approval, or building independence? Because the moment you stop needing validation, everything changes. If this video made you think differently, hit like, comment below. Does shaming stop behavior, or make it stronger? Subscribe, because the next videos will break down psychology, power, and social dynamics in ways most people won't say out loud. They tried to shame it. They tried to stop it. They tried to control it, but they didn't realize one thing. The more you try to suppress a mindset, the stronger it becomes. And once it becomes strong enough, it doesn't ask for approval anymore, it just exists.